Hi, welcome to Missionary Moms, where we help you to be a better missionary to your first mission field, your children, and to those around you. Hi, I'm Jenny, and today we are going to look at how to make spelling cards using the Sonlight Education Ministry method. The supplies that you are going to need is a Strong's Concordance, and you are going to need either 5x8 cards or 4x6 index cards. And so I'm using today a 5x8 card because I like the bigger ones. You can choose according to which size you would like. So what we're going to do first is we're going to choose a word. In the curriculum, there are a whole list of spelling words when it comes to the words that you can choose for your child. You can choose it according to where they are at. That's something nice about this curriculum is you can choose where they're at. Even if you're not using Sonlight Education Ministries curriculum, you can use spelling cards to incorporate into your spelling class and make it so that they can not just learn the word and the spelling, but they can actually see the spiritual benefit of it. Something really good about the spiritual benefit, to know the spiritual and not just the literal, is because the Bible has in it prophecy. And when you are studying prophecy, God uses literal things to share spiritual lessons. The same thing with parables. And we also want our children, as they're going about their day, to not only understand the literal meaning of things, but what does the Bible also use for spiritually speaking? So when they're out in nature, they can draw from the words that they learned the spiritual lessons, the object lessons in nature, and use those. So this helps train their mind. When you use spelling cards in this way, it helps train their minds to think about not just the literal definitions, but also the spiritual. And it also helps them with spelling. So let's get to it. Let's do this. So the first thing you're going to do, we're going to use the word tongue. And you're going to have your child first divide this up. We're going to put a line down here. You're going to put a line through the middle. Didn't do it exactly through the middle. And you are going to do a few lines at the top. You want to keep it a few lines at the top. You can start by actually writing out the word at the top and then doing these divisions of it. But that's pretty much what you're going to get laid out. Like a little 2 boxes, one at the bottom, one at the top. You can see I already punched holes. I'm going to show you, if you stay to the end, I'm going to show you a way that you can keep the cards. There's several different ways that you can store them that I think might be helpful. So stay to the end for that. All right, so let's write out our word. We're going to do up here just the good old spelling of tongue. You can underline it, you can highlight it, you can kind of make it your own. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to write out the syllables. How many syllables does tongue have? Well, tongue has 1 syllable. So therefore, I'm going to just write out the word tongue again. Now, if it was a different word that had more than 1 syllable, like happy or blessed, then you would hyphenate it according to where the syllable is. And you can use a dictionary for that. So that's where you would put the syllables. Next, you're going to put how to pronounce the word. Tongue has a pronunciation. You can, if you've left enough room, you can put it here. Otherwise, you can also divide it how you would like, and we can put the pronunciation here. And pronunciation, when I look in my dictionary, you can see here is tongue, and it's T-U-N-G-E, tongue. So this is T-U-N-G-E, tongue. And there's your pronunciation. There's a few extra things that the spelling card doesn't typically have in the SEM curriculum. that you can include in here, that it does say you can include, and you could put it either on the front of the card, or you could put it here. You can put the part of speech. And, you know, I think I'm going to actually save that for the front. So, tongue. So now we have our word with the spelling. We have our syllable. We have how to pronounce it. Now, on this side, this is going to be the common or the literal use of it. And on this side is going to be the spiritual or the symbolic. So you're going to have your child look up in a Strong's Concordance the word tongue. So I have looked it up here in our handy Strong's Concordance. And you can see there are tons of words here, or not words, verses that they can look up. And what you want them to do is they don't have to look up every single one of these verses with their Bible, but they need to find at least one that is a literal meaning that has a Bible verse with it. So after looking up a few, they'll be able to find one pretty simple about the literal. Sometimes the spiritual one is a little bit harder to come by, but after looking it up, so I found a verse. We're going to be a literal one is everyone that lappeth of the water with his tongue by himself. So the child should see that this is the literal use of the word tongue. It's talking about that part of our body. So, and that's found in Judges. This is the story of Gideon 7:5. Okay. And then you are going to then put down the Strong's Concordance reference number. So we go to Judges 7:5, and the reference number here, if you can see right there, is 3956. 3956. So that is going to be the Hebrew of it. So what you're going to do is have them go in the Strong's Concordance in the back. You will see Greek and you will see your Hebrew. Okay? And the Hebrew is the Old Testament and the Greek is going to be your New Testament. So we're going to go to the Old Testament 3956. So it says, the tongue of a man or animal used literally as an instrument of licking, eating, or speech, and figuratively as a fork or a flame, a cove of water. So those are evil speaker, language, talk, tongue, wedge. So these are what the Hebrew would have interpreted as some of the verses that have the 3956. So we can see that literally it means our tongue. Put licking, eating, or excuse me, an instrument of licking, eating, or of speech. You can see why I like the bigger card. It definitely fills up fast. So then on the spiritual side, they're going to go through the Strong's Concordance and they're going to find a more of a symbolic or a spiritual one. And if you cannot find a spiritual application for the word that you are specifically looking up, find a thesaurus and find a synonym word and then go and have them look up that word. So, because the Bible doesn't have every single word that we would have for a spelling card. And suddenly there came the sound from heaven of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like of fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Ghost and began to speak with other tongues, as the Spirit gave them utterance. Now, depending on how old your child is, will depend on how much you have them write of the verse. So I'm going to actually shorten this, and I'm going to start with, and they were all filled with the Holy Ghost. and began to speak with other tongues. 2 and verse 4. You can have them use different color highlighters for the card itself. And then you've got the spiritual definition, which is the languages. And actually, when we look back at our number in the Strong's Concordance, you can see that it actually has other tongues, or other speech or language. So then they have to know that the definition is speech or language. This bottom area here is for them to be able to apply the word that they have been looking up to the lesson particular for the day. So, for instance, if you are studying health and then the word tongue comes up, it's probably going to be more of a literal tongue. But you can also have them maybe relate it to something that they learned about what they should be putting into their bodies. So they might write something like, what would a child write about their tongue? My tongue is used for tasting. So that would be literal. And you can have them relate it to the lesson that they're on as far as the character trait. So if you're on the chapter 1, then it would be related to the character trait of love, because that's what the curriculum, it always has a character trait. And so you could say, I want to use my tongue to show love. So this is where you can have them write a sentence or relate it to the lesson itself. You can also do that on the back. And I'm going to go ahead and put our word tongue. I'm going to put the part of speech. It is a noun. Noun. Tongue. You can also let them decorate it. You can have them do drawings. Excuse my sad drawing here. The words to different things. Also on the front, you might have them actually put an application, something that they want God to do in their lives to help them to help them to do better. Like, how can the word tongue actually affect their spiritual life? I want to use my tongue to speak kind to my brother. And that would be, you could even have them turn that into a prayer. You could have them write it as a prayer, like, I pray that I use my tongue to speak kind to my brother. And so this is a good way to use the card. So there are a couple ways. I told you that if you stayed until the end, 2 items. But how to store these. So you can store them in so many different ways. But I have gotten this cute little binder. It's a leather binder. And you can store them this way. Just like so. So they can flip it like this. And next time I would definitely do the word at the top and go down from there. That way you can store it. But I love the idea of using a binder like this to keep them all together. And just really useful. Another way that you can keep the cards is there is instructions on how to make a box. This is made for the 4x6 cards. So if you're going to use the bigger ones like I did, you're going to want to follow the instructions to make a wooden box. You're going to want to up this a little bit. So a wooden box would be a nice option for that. In the spelling card exam, there is an example in the book for the spelling through the scriptures, from the scriptures. And you can get this book either on Amazon, I'll send a link below, or you can also get the printables on the free Google Drives. You can print those out as well for free. So the frequency that you want to do these cards for your kids is dependent on their level. So depending on their age and their ability, you can either have them do 1 card per week, or if they're older, you can do 1 to 2 cards per week. And if they are in the high school level, they can do 2 to 3 cards per week. Something else, you don't want to make it burdensome. So if your child is younger and still kind of learning the skill of writing, and they're kind of in that the younger age bracket, you can also take off some parts of the spelling card. So maybe you just want them to write the word, and then you want to have them find a verse for the literal and find a verse for the spiritual. Maybe that's all you want them to do. Maybe you want them to just do the word and then just find, instead of writing out the verse, maybe you just have them find it in the Strong's Concordance and write down the literal and the spiritual meaning. So instead of writing out the whole verse, they would write maybe the reference to the verse and just the meaning. So again, this is very tailorable, and you want to make it so that the child can appreciate it at the age that they're at.